Greetings. Welcome to thctrust.org. Now, in this video, I'm going to talk about establishing the executor, which is something that occurs in the will. And if you've downloaded the template will, you'll see how that is established in there. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time going into this because there's more than enough information. I would recommend you visit thctrust.org, and I will have some links to videos where individuals talk about the role of the executor of the estate. You can also look up some videos by Dean Clifford, and I believe he talks about the role of the executor. And more importantly, you can go to Google and Google executor for an estate. And I really think that's where you will find some of the best information because, no, it's not written from the perspective of secured parties and indigenous people and Americans in the Republic and things like that. But the information doesn't change. The executor's role is the same, which is to collect the assets of the estate, to administer the affairs of the estate, to pay the debts of the estate. And that kind of is consistent with the whole concept of a secured party creditor. The executor is there to settle the claims against the estate, the same way that the secured party creditor was used to indemnify the Cestui trust, or the straw man, if you will. So, and there's also, you can Google David Clarence. He has some videos. Not videos. I believe there's some talk shows that talk about the role of the executor and some of the successes that they've had. The executor letter is a letter that you may want to use along with your letter of indigenous or sovereign standing, or your letter establishing your nationality, or your letter establishing your as a secured party creditor or an American in the Republic, whatever type of affidavit of that identifies who you are outside of being a United States citizen is probably beneficial to use together with the letter of executorship to really certify and establish your standing. But again, the executor is appointed in the will, and typically, if you're successful filing your will, where they file wills at your county level, what will happen is they will issue a letter from the court establishing who the named executor was in the will. Now, this is very powerful if you can get that from the court with their seal on it. But even if you can't, you can produce your own, and you can sign it in front of a notary and get it authenticated and witnessed, etc., etc. Now, on that note, I personally, because I am aware that there's a difference between, the name means nothing. Some people feel uncomfortable about having a will for their all capital letter name and then establishing an executor in uppercase or lowercase or however form you do it that has the similar name. I don't have a problem with that. That's the way I've done mine. But if you have a problem with that and you don't think you can effectively navigate using that method, then appoint somebody else that you trust. Now, I will tell you this, doing it the first way I mentioned, by being your own executor, for lack of better terms, you may run into some problems. I've ran into some serious problems trying to get certain things filed that way. And, it just depends. Every place is different. You might be able to do it seamlessly. You might have some problems. And if you do have problems, technically you can remove those problems if you have the know-how and if you have the time. But right now that'll just be something that you have to figure out. If you get jammed up in a specific area, perhaps you can send us an email and we can give you some ideas. Now, it is probably the most grave human rights violation to deny someone the opportunity to file a will under any circumstances. But in this day and age, don't be surprised, it may happen. So if that does happen to you, what's most important is if you can't get your will in the probate court or the county clerk, which is probably usually where it should be filed, then don't hesitate to go file it in the district, which I believe they have a $39 miscellaneous filing fee. And from my experience, they don't scrutinize and they don't prevent you from filing anything at the federal level. So look at your federal courts and your district courts to have your will put on the record if you cannot get it filed where it's supposed to be filed. Now, I'm going to go ahead back into reading this document, see if I have any good information here. Well, actually, you know what? I'm not going to go into reading this document because, there's so much information about the role of the executor that I'm not going to even, I'm not going to even put my 2 cents on it. So I say research it yourself. What I have provided at thctrust.org is I provided a template executor letter for your usage. This letter has been written very, very close to the same format that's used by the Department of the Navy for their official military correspondence. And the individual that drafted up that letter was actually, he was actually in the military and worked in administration, and he's very familiar with how they do things. So that's another gift from thctrust.org to you. And I guess that'll pretty much be it. Let me see if there's anything important that I'm missing in here. I'm scrolling through this document. So okay, well, there you go. Make sure let me go ahead and read this real quick. Essentially, your executive letter will be used before you begin or initiate any process or proceeding with a public official or trustee. This is because you're letting them know, hey, say if you have a matter that you're trying to get resolved, as soon as whatever public trustee is involved, whether it's Secretary of State or a sheriff or whoever it is, as soon as they receive your letter, your executor letter, then that establishes who the executor is of this particular matter and of your estate, thereby forcing them into the role of public official, forcing them into the role of fiduciary or trustee. Now, I also want to encourage you to consider modifying and updating the executor letter that we provided. Everything you need to make it personal. You need to make it your own. And there's a section under the executor letter that specifically talks about the role of trustees and fiduciaries. So you can beef that up and make it personal. So for whatever you want to convey to public trustees, as relates to your estate and your status, you can add into that letter. Now, it's really important to make all these letters, whether it's your will or your letter of executorship or the next one that we're going to talk about, which is your sovereign or national declaration. It's important that you have those recorded and that they are a matter of public record. Okay, and maybe we'll go into that later, but for right now, just understand that it's not just important to just have these documents certified for yourself in your own personal files, which you should. They also should be a matter of public record, because, as I said before, affidavits, which essentially is what your executor letter and your sovereign and national declaration, those are all affidavits. They're charging instruments, but you can't hold someone liable if the information wasn't made known to them. So again, you have to put that in the public. All right, so the executor letter can be found at thctrust.org under the foundation menu. The link for establishing your status, you can read through that and you can find the will and the executor letter. Also, again, I want to encourage you to help support what we're doing here. And let me tell you where we're trying to get to, what at least my major focus and what I really want to dedicate a large portion of the website and our organization to, and that is getting people out of jail, getting people out of prison, because there's a lot of people in there for bogus, petty, statutory crimes that are not really crimes at all, and they're doing a lot of time and they don't need to be there. And it's just the time, it's the time to think about somebody else and not think about yourself. So you can be out spending your money on other things, but it would benefit us and it would benefit you to donate to thctrust.org. And you can do that by looking under our products menu. Right now we only have one product, and that product is again showing you how to take possession of an abandoned or vacant house. Step by step method, and I've provided all the legwork for you.